This begins lesson 4.6, part C. Again, I'm labeling it part C because on Tuesday we did discuss half of 4.6, and that was considered part A. Now, before I finish, I added 6 questions here to your notes. You don't have it in your notes, but I do highly recommend that you write these down. These are questions taken directly from a homework sheet that I will give you on Thursday when I return. So if you do these with me now, you'll have 6 of those questions finished before you even start. Again, this is a tough concept to start working with out of the gate. We have to really understand what is I, and we have to work with it. We have to practice it to truly understand that it is not a terrible thing. It's just a different thing. We have to understand the rules that go with it. So in doing so, in trying to get this under control, let's do these 6 questions. Again, I stated before that I would be considered like a variable, not that it's unknown, but you would approach it in terms of deciding if things are like terms the way you would variables. So here we have an I and a 6i, they're being added. When we add and subtract, we must combine like terms only. These are like terms. So this is 7i. The next one, 3, 4, and 6i. Again, 3 and 4 do not have an I, so they are like terms. That is 7 plus 6i. Now when we multiply, I don't like this question so much as their notation is not proper. So I'm going to fix this. It's 5i times I times negative 2i. A little bit clear when they use parentheses. This is a multiplication problem. And multiplication and division don't care about like terms. We have to just do the product and not worry about like terms. So if we take 5i times I, we get 5i squared. If we continue with that multiplication, we get negative 10i cubed. Now notice the power changes just like you would if it was a variable. But again, it isn't a variable, but it acts like it in terms of the powers. Now here we have I to the third. Nice, as I stated before, if we have anything beyond a 1 for a power above an I, it's not simplified yet. So here we would use the knowledge that I squared means something to us. So we would rewrite it as I squared times I. We know that I squared is equal to a negative 1. So this is going to give us negative 10 times negative 1, which is a positive 10i. Alright, next question. We have negative 4i times 5i. Again, we multiply, we get negative 20i squared. But again, we know that I squared is equal to negative 1. So negative 20 times negative 1 is a positive 20. The I is gone. Foiling, same rules. First times first give us negative 12. Outside gives us 8i. Inside gives us plus 24i. Last, negative 16i squared. Now remember, I squared is equal to negative 1, which means that this is actually a plus 16. I do that right now because these two are considered like terms then. And that will give us positive 4. These two are like terms. And that is a positive 32i. Now notice that I did not get I squared, because remember that only happens when we multiply. And this is our answer. Our last one here, first times first, 18. Outside, plus 24i. Inside, minus 12i. Last, negative 16i squared. And again, I want to change negative 16i squared to plus 16. We combine like terms, and here we get 234, I believe. And here we get plus 12i. Now, back to your notes, we have these two problems. We're going to do just the things we did the other day. We're going to solve this with the quadratic formula. In other words, here, A is 3, B is 2, and C is 5. And what's going to happen is we're going to get a negative in the root. That's all. So negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is 4, minus 4 times A times C divided by 2 times A. So negative 2 plus or minus square root of 4 minus 4 times 3 is 12, 12 times 5 is 60, all over 6, negative 2 plus or minus square root of negative 56, all over 6. We have an I in the square root there, so it's negative 2 plus or minus I square root of 56, all over 6. And again, that's a negative 56. So how do I simplify that? Well, the square root of negative 56 is the same as, oops, I'm sorry. I took that out, didn't I? Pardon me. Took the negative out, and how do we take care of root 56? We have 4 times 14. That's the largest square that goes into 56, which will give us 2 root 14. We have negative 2 plus or minus what is now 2i root, root 14. We got that out and simplified now. And the one last thing we want to do is if all these three pieces here have something in common, we want to simplify. And that would give us negative 1 plus or minus I root 14 over 3. That's considered simplified. I cannot take 14 divided by 2 because that's actually not 14. It's the square root of 14, which is quite a bit smaller. It's 3 point something, 4, 3.5, 3.9. Next question. I'll do this quickly here. I have to solve set equal to 0. So I add 6x to both sides. So A is 1, B is 6, and C is 13. So negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C, so 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. That gives us negative 6 plus or minus square root of a negative 16 all over 2. And I have to get this done in 10 minutes here, so I got a couple of seconds left. That would give us negative 6 plus or minus 4i over 2, which gives us negative 3 plus or minus 2i. All right, that was quick, but it ends this part, and I'll clarify any questions tomorrow when I return. Thank you, and good luck.